Hey, I'm Audrey Yankton, empowerment coach and researcher, and this is Unveil You, the podcast where spirituality meets practicality to help you step fully into your power. Each week, we'll talk about what it really means to align with your higher self, trust your inner knowing, and walk through life with grounded, soul-led confidence. Let's get into it. Hello, hello. Welcome to the very first episode of the Unveil You podcast. I'm Audra, and I am just so honored that you're here. This episode is truly my heart. It's not polished and it's definitely not perfect, but it's real. And that is the point of this whole space that I'm creating with Unveil You. It's truth over performance. It's your soul over your strategy. It's living in alignment and being who you truly are and being unapologetic for it. So, who am I as an empowerment coach if I'm not going to put myself out there and do something like this as well? So, with that, today I want to share something that I've never said quite like this before, and it's the deeper why behind the work that I do and the journey that I've walked to get here. For the start of this podcast episode, it just feels appropriate that I have to say, for most of my life, I have been terrified of being seen. And when I say being seen, I don't mean physically. I mean in an emotional, energetic, and spiritual way. And honestly, sometimes in a physical way too. I have just wanted to crawl in a hole and hide most of my existence. And the reason I was doing that was that I was afraid that if people really saw me, they wouldn't accept me, or even worse, that they judge me or reject me or silence me. And, I grew up in a really small town in rural Nebraska. Um, your life is very much on display when you grow up the way that I did. And what I mean by that is there was like 1,500 people in my hometown at the time. Not sure if it's bigger or smaller now, honestly, but I went to a really small high school. We were consolidated with another school nearby, and that brought my class's grand total to 42 humans, me being one of them. So it's not like a typical city existence where you just kind of go to your school and you have your friends and you don't even know everybody that you go to school with. It's really crazy to me that not everybody knows everything about everybody. When I got to college, I was like, oh wow, a lot of people don't even know um, their classmates. That's crazy because from K through 12th grade, I knew everybody and everybody knew me. So that is the flip side of it, is that my life was very much on display. If anything good happened to me, everybody saw it and was there for it. And if anything bad happened to me, everybody also saw that. And that brought on a lot of early triggers for me around shame and embarrassment. I do not handle embarrassment well. So, what did my heart do to protect me from this? It brought up these walls of hiding. And I decided that if I hid who I truly was, and I learned how to dim myself and how to shrink and how to only show the pieces that I thought were safe, that I would be protecting myself and that um, I wouldn't have to feel that embarrassment or shame around who I truly was. If I just blended into the background, no one would notice me, and therefore I could never get embarrassed. So that kind of started the beginning of my struggles in adulthood, and how I need to show up now. And even as I stepped into this new coaching role, I just have noticed this pattern is that I continued to hide parts of myself to be palatable. I'm a very spiritual person, and I didn't even know how I would incorporate spirituality into my coaching business for fear of judgment and people thinking, "Oh wow, she's really woo woo. We don't want to work with someone like that." And I thought if I only showed the pieces that I thought were safe, then that would just work better for me. Um, and I just felt like in order to please the people around me, I had to behave a certain way or do certain things. So, me, for example, doing this podcast episode is literally me pushing myself past the bounds of comfort and, putting myself out there in a way that I truly am not all that comfortable with, but I want to show my clients and myself that you can literally do anything that you set your mind to do. So here I am, raw and unapologetically me, recording a podcast episode. So If you're still with me, I'm going to get more into the story of myself, which is what I will call the turning point. So there just came a point where hiding how I felt and how much I was hurting hurt worse than being judged ever could. Um, as an example, I think what really triggered me into feeling like I wanted to change my life and do better and live in my authenticity was I had a baby, my beautiful daughter Avery. She's almost 2 years old now. And I am one of the lucky few, haha, that got to experience pretty severe postpartum depression. Here I was, a new mom. I had no idea what I was doing. I have this wonderful, supportive partner, Cody. He is amazing in all ways. He's a fantastic dad and a phenomenal partner, and he was huge in me being able to find my ground again and be able to ground myself and truly just like dive into my mental health state and understand what the heck was going on with me. And it was kind of a culmination, my postpartum depression, of a lot of years of different things that I was shoving aside and not, managing, which was waking up every single day feeling completely lost, extremely anxious and hopeless. I mean, some days in college, I can remember waking up with so much anxiety in my gut that I didn't even want to get out of bed. I would just hide and, want the day to pass. But, luckily, I've always been a very driven person that I'm like, oh, I can't not get out of bed. That homework has to get done. I have to, go study for that test. Like, failure was not an option for me. So again, that fear of failure was kind of helping me at different times as well. I think, it's a reminder to always be grateful. I try to be grateful for all of my shortcomings and all of my fears and anxieties because really what that is my body is just trying to help me protect myself more. Embarrassment is a form of protection of my ego. Anxiety is a form of protection of what my brain thinks could go wrong, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that I've stepped into a part of my life where I realized those things weren't serving me anymore. So, going back then to my postpartum story was that I just realized all of a sudden that with this high expectation of, I have a marriage and now I'm a new mom, I realized that I was living for everyone except for myself. And that everything I was doing was driven by either familial or societal, like my perception, I guess, of how society and everybody else was around me was looking at me and judging every last move. And I just realized I absolutely cannot do this anymore. I have to make a change. Or quite frankly, I'm going to end up dead. Um, and so I needed to change or I was not going to make it. I was not going to live this life much longer at that level of, you know, at the level of disease that I was truly going through. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just finally had this deep knowing that like I'm not here to be liked. I'm actually here to lead and to lead people and show others that there is life on the other side of anxiety and depression. I realized that I had to be seen and I have to be seen fully for who I am and what I was born to be. I have this or have this deep knowing that everybody on this planet, even if it doesn't feel like right now you have a purpose. Everybody was born exactly who they were supposed to be. You have special gifts that nobody else has, and we all do. And it's up to you to find a way to share that with the world, and fulfill your soul's higher purpose. So with that, I began the work of what I will call unveiling, with my and what inspired my business name, UnveilYou, because this person exists within all of us, the person that you're meant to be. It's about taking the layers of veils off. So gently, layer by layer, I started to reclaim the parts of me that I once pushed down, which was the mystical, the emotional, as you can see as I tear up just talking about these kinds of things. Um, the emotional parts of me, I decided I need to feel my emotions. I need to embrace my spirituality. I need to live in my boldness and not judge myself for it. So what does all this mean? I decided to unveil myself and step into my true power. And that is realizing that the fear of being seen for me was really a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment, a fear of what will they think, just being fully on display exactly like I hated to be when I was younger. Um, but the truth is that when you really see yourself fully and you stand in that truth, you become this unshakable person. And when you learn to rely on yourself for your happiness and you alone for your happiness. And you just become this unshakable version of yourself that, what can't you do if you're fully getting all of your validation from yourself? And that's where I'm at in life now, is that I have realized that getting validation from nobody else but myself is the only way to have true control of your life and to live in your authenticity and live in your power. And you don't need to be more confident to be seen. You become confident by being seen. So again, here I am out here starting to put myself out in the world, and I'm starting a business and a podcast completely uh, with me on display. I am the main face, the brand of everything, and this is me stepping into my confidence and reclaiming it in a way that I never, well, I could say I guess I rejected my confidence my entire life. So my visibility is healing for me and for you and everybody silently watching and wondering if it's safe to be yourself too. I'm just here to say that it not only is it safe, it's what you came to this planet for. It's what we are all incarnated on this earth um, in this life together for a reason. It's all completely planned on the other side. Nobody is here by accident. So if you are not living in your authenticity, if you're not, or I guess if you're hiding parts of yourself that you think, others just won't approve of and you're miserable, that's a sign that you need to step fully into, what, like you need to figure out what does being you look like? What does stepping into your full authenticity look like? And start to make steps towards that. And that's some of this that's exactly why I created Unveil You. It's just not to help people look more confident, but to actually feel safe being themselves. Um, I'm not trying to fix anybody. I'm not trying to change anybody. I'm trying to unveil you because none of us are broken. We're just unseen for what we truly are. And imagine a world where everybody's living in their authenticity. Everybody is doing the things that light them up, and everybody and their small contribution, seemingly small, some larger than others. It doesn't matter. Like we're not. Nobody is on a scale comparing their impacts on this planet to each other. It's truly just about living in your authenticity and becoming the best version of that you can be to serve others and in turn serving yourself. um, so I have a lot of different methods I utilize for myself to finally, I'm going through a lot of this I guess you could say soul awakening things by myself as working through postpartum depression, and I was on medication. I'm on the other side of things almost 2 years later, and I can say I'm successfully off of medication, but I don't believe that I could have done that if I hadn't have done all the inner work and shadow work that I needed to do to work through my past traumas and triggers, or these feelings of depression were never going to go away. These feelings of anxiety were never going to go away. And I had that realization and I started seeking out resources to help myself of just, okay, medicine is a great short-term thing. Um, and some people are on it forever. Again, I'm not here to cast any judgment. Wherever you're at in your stage is completely for you and you alone. This is me just sharing my story. Was that I personally wasn't satisfied hearing that, like, just be on the medicine until you feel like you don't need it anymore. And I was like, I have no idea what that means. And I just know that mentally something has to change for me, or I'm just going to end up needing medication for the rest of my life. And I personally just didn't want that. So I remember I actually met with a psychiatrist as I needed to re-up my prescription. And I wonder, I'm sure I'm not the only one in this boat. I hope many of you have had, if you've been to a psychiatrist, have had wonderful experiences. My experience was extremely impersonal and I just wasn't getting much out of it. And she was just essentially like, you're just probably going to need medication for the rest of your life, and that's the way it is. And she had no other advice for me, no other help except that, hey, I'm here to write you this prescription, and it's time to just accept that, hey, you might just need this for the rest of your life. And I was like, you know what? Sure. Maybe in some cases, like I could accept that, but where I'm at in my life and the changes I wanted to make, I just couldn't anymore. So again, I started seeking out resources of, what, like I just felt this higher calling to do something differently with my life. What I was doing wasn't working. In the middle of all this, I got laid off from a job. Um, I was the sole breadwinner for my family, and I still am. And here I am, going off into this other venture. But, at that time, it was like I had a mortgage and a baby and a household that depended on me. And that was when I decided, okay, this is not going to work for me anymore. I'm just masking the symptoms of a bigger issue here. And that big issue is that I have past traumas and triggers that I have suppressed my entire life. And it is time to get it together and confront those emotions and feelings and triggers and memories and make them better for myself, and understand how they're actually serving me, and what part of my story do they belong in. Because that's just the thing, is that everything that happens to you, good or bad, we all plan for that on the other side when we're a soul pre-incarnation, you could say. Is everything that happens to you, it doesn't happen to you. I just started to shift my mindset and go into thinking that it's actually happening for me, and it's up to me to, uncover the messages that the universe is sending me and understand why. Um, and I fully believe that me having my daughter was a universal trigger for me to understand that, like, I'm not just a human going through things, trying to trudge through and make the best of it and die and nothing comes of this. I'm a soul having a human experience, and I am here for a grander reason, just like the rest of us are. And it's time for me to understand, like, what that looks like. So um I started to do what's referred to in the spiritual world as shadow work, which is where you have different triggers and traumas come up for you at different times. Maybe you're having an anxiety attack, and you're having all these memories or thoughts flood your head, or all these what we call limiting beliefs came to my head of, like, I don't deserve better than this. I don't deserve to feel good. I don't deserve to feel comfortable in my own skin. And I started to or I started to have awareness of the thoughts that I was having. And only through awareness can you then incite some change. So once I realized what I was thinking was, and how that was affecting, like I was literally writing these things into existence. When I think things like, if I have a public platform, people are just going to tear me down. Well, I guess if that's what I believe, that's the reality I was creating. We are all so powerful at creating our own realities. I would actually challenge anybody that's listening to this right now, like, what what problem, think of one problem that you're having, or one, like, limiting belief that you have. Is that not playing out in your life, and how? And if you can stop yourself from thinking that thought as soon as you have it, and then take it and rewrite it into something positive. For example, it's like, I don't deserve a good life. And then I'm like, whoa, wait, I can't think that way. And then I start to shift my narrative and start to, like, come up with positive affirmations like, I deserve the best life full of fulfillment and happiness. And then I start to almost, like, rewrite or write over, like in the old days of burning CDs, you have this old CD and you burn over it with all these positive affirmations. And that's the track that starts playing in your head. All of a sudden, your life will start to take off in this positive direction that you never even dreamt could be possible for you. Um, if you're sitting here thinking like you can't have all the riches that the world has to provide, or, if you're coming from a truly good place and you just, want to live a comfortable life, and you don't think that that's possible for you, think again, because I guarantee you there's some living limiting belief in your head that is just that that is playing that record over and over in your head that you don't deserve the things that you desire. Well, I'm here to tell you, and throughout this podcast series, that if you don't think that you deserve everything that this life has to offer, you do. And it's time for you to start believing that yourself and starting to bring that to fruition. So, again, with my new business where I am doing one-on-one coaching, and I will eventually, be scaling up to do bigger things. I have lots of plans for it. I'm really excited to start helping people, because again, it's not about changing you or telling you how to do things. It's about helping you create awareness into the space that you're creating for yourself so that you can start to intentionally create the life that you want. Because again, it's just that you're not meant to hide, and it's time to unveil who you really are, which is a soul having a human experience, a divine soul, a divine piece of this creator, of the creator of the universe. And it's time to share your gifts with the world. So, if any part of what I'm saying here alone into my microphone, this is so funny. Recording a podcast for the first time because it's kind of like speaking into a black hole, but I know that this will reach people. And if any part of this stirred something in with you, I encourage you to stay with me through this series. I'm creating this space to be part of you just as much as it is a part of me. I really want to bring soul awareness into this world in a way that, I haven't seen a lot of, and it's starting to become more and more popular all the time. And I'm so grateful for that because um, it's time for us to claim our power back as people. There's a lot of things going on this planet that are really just, it's hard to stomach right now. There's a lot of scariness, there's a lot of uncertainty, but I am here to give you the good news that we are all in the driver's seat of our own lives. We are all creators of our own lives. And as soon as you can shift your awareness into that, um, I can promise you it is just going to be a very, very beautiful existence for you, full of everything you ever dreamed of. And yeah, with this first episode, we're just getting started. This is just the beginning of the journey of a journey of what we're going to call a remembering of who you are and why you're here on this planet, and all the beautiful things that come with being a divine soul, and all the things that we do have access to, and all the resources that we might not be aware of in these human bodies that I'm going to help you remember throughout this podcast series. So, again, I'm just thank you if you're still here. Thank you for staying with me through this intro. And I am so honored to walk this path with you. And I hope you all have a beautiful week. Thank you so much.